Hello everyone, my name is Kadek Mahendrayani. Welcome to my business English presentation. In this presentation, I will be focusing on three aspects in business English, which are controlling, interruptions, and asking questions in business English. Let's get started. The first one is about controlling. In order to make the meeting goes well, controlling is important to control all the participants to stay focused in discussing the topic. In controlling, there are several aspects that should be pointed out. The first one, active listening, responding to motivate. Where you want to respond someone's opinion, you can say, for example, right, okay, yes, I see, or thank you. Next is about active listening, reformulating to clarify. When you want, when you need someone to clarify their opinion, you can say, for example, in other words, so you think that, you mean that. And next is moving off the point. When you want to talk about something that out of the topic, you might say, could I disagree for a minute? Or it's not on the agenda, but blah blah blah. There are also keeping with the agenda, referring forward and referring back in controlling. In keeping with the agenda, in this section, when you feel the participants discussing something out of the topic, you can say, I think we are digressing. Can we come back to the main question? Or I think we are getting sidetracked. The main question is, next is referring forward. When you want to continue to the other topic of discussion, you can say, we will come to that later, or we will be dealing with that in a moment. Next is referring back. The referring back expression can be used when you want to mention back the earlier discussion. You might say, as we said earlier, or we have already discussed this. And in controlling, there are also postponing. When you think the topic of the discussion is not too related with the main topic and you want to move to the other topic, you might say, shall we keep this item? Or I think we can forget point 4, or we've already discussed it. Next is length of meeting. Um, Sometimes when we do the discussion, we forget the time limit. So when you want to remind the other meeting participant to watch out the time limit, you might say, we're pretty short of time, or can we move on, like that. Next is confirming a discussion. When you want to ask confirmation about the result of this discussion with the other meeting participant, you can say, okay, so we have decided to blah blah blah, or does anyone agree with that, or is that clear, like that. Next is closing and moving on. When you want to break the discussion from one to another topic, or when you want to end the discussion, you can use expression like, I think that's everything on that, or the next item on the agenda is blah blah blah. The next is about interrupting. An interruption is a speech event when one person breaks in to interject while another person is talking. There are several aspects in interrupting as well. The first one, cheer interrupting. This is when you were being the one who led the discussion, when you want to give a chance to another participants to give uh, another participants to give idea or opinion. You might say, for example, okay, John, if I could just interrupt you there, blah blah blah, or Jeannie, sorry, but I'd like to hear some other views on this, blah blah blah. Next is chair stopping and interruption. This is also when you were being the one who led the discussion. An interruption, when you want to stop the interruption while another participant still lacking talking, you might say, for example, just a moment, Peter, I'll come back to you when Mary has finished. Like that. Next, next is when participants is interrupting. This is when you were being the participants of the discussion and you want to give your opinion by interrupting politely. You can say, excuse me, may I interrupt? Or could I just comment on that? For example, like that. Next is participant stopping an interruption. And this is when you want to end your argumentation, you might say, for example, if I could just finish, or may I just finish, or I haven't finished what I was saying, like that. Next is about why did you interrupt, and this is used when you want to tell the reason of your interruption in the middle of the discussion section. For example, you can say, I'd like to point out in blah blah blah, or I'd like to add something in blah blah blah. Then the next is referring to other opinions. This is used for someone who wants to point out another participant's opinion earlier. For example, Alex, you said that blah blah blah, or as Peter suggested blah blah blah. Next, changing the focus of discussion. When you think the discussion still not to go in the detail of the topic, you can say, for example, we need to go into this in more depth or detail. And next is commenting on interruption. Um, in commenting on interruption, this is used for giving comment to the other opinions or idea. For example, that's good point, or I see what you mean, or you're right. Next is chair exploiting an interruption. This is used when you, as a leader of the discussion, and you want to stop the discussion section with this certain topic if you think the discussion is enough for that topic. For example, okay, perhaps we should talk more about blah blah blah, or let's think about this new point. Next is about asking questions. It is a pivotal communication skill. By asking questions, you clarify what is said and explore all the agenda truly. By Dignan Bob. Okay, in asking question, there are also several aspects that should be pointed out. The first one is check question. This is used when you want to make sure people understand about the discussion. For example, you say, do you follow or do you see what I mean? Like that. Next is development question. This is used when you ask the participant and you want more information about the topic. You can say, for example, could you say a little bit more about that, or can you give an example? Next is unit clarification. Sometimes you don't get the point of the discussion. You can ask the other participant to explain more about by saying, what exactly do you mean by blah blah blah, or what are you trying to say exactly? And the next is you need to hear a second time. When you think you need a second time to hear the explanation from the speaker, you might say, "I'm sorry, could you repeat that?" or "Could you go over that again?" Like that. Next, there are also you are listening, open questions, closed questions, leading question, and factual question. And you are listening, it means that it refers to the situation where you give the response of other opinion and you want to retell their meaning. You might say, "So you are worried about blah blah blah," or "So in other words, you think that blah blah blah." Next is open question. In open question, this is referring kind of question that appropriate to open the meeting discussion. For example, "Could you tell me about blah blah blah," or I would be interested to know in blah blah blah. Next is closed question. This kind of question has a purpose to reassure the meaning of the discussion. You you might say, for example, "Do you plan to blah blah? Is there blah blah, or did you?" And next is leading question. This kind of question are a useful device to add power to your ideas. Fact, for example, "Shouldn't we discuss in blah blah blah?" or "Isn't it important to blah blah blah?" And the last is factual question. And this is kind of question that need a fact-based answer. So if you want to ask questions that related about the topic that has an exact answer, not an opinion, you might say, for example, "When we will begin the production," when we will begin the production, I mean, and who will lead the team, for example, like that. Okay, that's all about my presentation. I hope you can get my point. Thank you for watching and see you next time. Thank you.